Good morning. This is Professor Papier Bernstein, and this is course SPV 430, and its clinical methods and supervised observation. This is the semester still during the pandemic, and all courses are being offered online. This is the second video that you'll be seeing, and this video is going to review all of the course materials that are, or I should say the course documents that are posted online. I will be going through all the documents. They can be accessed on Blackboard. And the first one is your syllabus. Now, depending upon which section of the course you're taking, there will be different information that appears differently in here if there are dates on there. But you don't have to be concerned about that now. But it's a pretty standard syllabus. It has to be done a certain way according to the university standards. So you have all of the student learning outcomes for the various goals, the 3 goals that we have to follow according to the fact that we're an ASHA accredited program, by the way. You have specific student learning objectives, which I'm not going to read to you. The point is, I just want to let you know that this is online, and the expectation is that you are going to go through all of these materials. Your required textbook is here, The Practitioner's Path in Speech Language Pathology, The Art of School-Based Practice. I will have an announcement for the link. You will be entitled to a student discount if you buy it on the Plural site. All of the other readings are on the external links on Blackboard. Now, I just want to put in a little disclaimer here that the rest of the course requirements I have not specifically updated for this semester in every case, but due to COVID, clearly your observation arrangements may be predominantly virtual this semester, and if that's the case, you'll have to make adjustments as you read the syllabus. It's hard to make those changes because we really don't know if some of your observations will be face-to-face soon, but certainly a good majority of them will continue to be virtual as they were for the majority of last semester. Your course requirements are here. We will have some synchronous lectures, meetings rather, that you'll be required to attend. Also, you're required to view all of the links for my lectures that I'm doing either through Collaborate or with a YouTube link. You have 25 observation reports that are required. We'll be talking about that more through the semester. Each report is based upon a clinical hour, which usually is anywhere from 42 minutes to 60 minutes. All of the other information is here. Each report has a cover page, and there are 4 questions on each of the cover pages that must be answered. It has to do with materials and activities, and I'll be talking more about this in another lecture, so we're not going to go through it now because you're not really doing your observations right at this moment. This is just to familiarize you with the materials. You also have a requirement of an ongoing log, and this has to be signed with the ASHA number of the practitioner. If your hours are remote and you fill in the log, there's a good possibility at the end of the semester I will be signing it. You also have a lot of discussion boards that you need to participate in, and they're all graded. And then you'll have a 5 to 6 minute class presentation that links specific course content from your textbook with something that you've observed. And I think that this will be fun for you, and I'll be talking about when you're doing it and what your topics are because I've had to assign them. Then on your syllabus, you also have all of the course materials that are on Blackboard. There are 13 of them that I'll be briefly going through for the next few minutes. You have a listing of our synchronous meeting dates, and that's going to depend upon your section. I have identified, I think it's 5 meeting dates for class 1, or week 1, week 2, week 5, week 8, and week 13, but that may change a little bit, but they're all listed on your syllabus. You have your grading policy. You have a statement about arranging your observations, which may or may not be applicable this semester. If the clinic is going to be open later in the semester, you have to check that out. And then some statements about the ACE, the Academic Center for Excellence and Accommodation of Students with Disabilities, and that's pretty much it for your syllabus. And then you have a very important document that's called Class Dates and Procedures, and this basically takes you through every week, week 1 through week 14, and then the final exam week, and it's going to tell you if something is due and what's due, and whether your class is going to be a remote class, actually a synchronous class, or it's going to be an online discussion. And then there's some statements about course procedures, about observations that they have to be handed in when they're due. Everything's going to be handed in digitally, of course, and I'll be giving you directions. Your presentation is going to be assigned by me, and I'll give you a date. And it's basically everything that we've talked about. Your textbook, of course, is mandatory. Number 3 is what I call the roadmap for the practitioner's path. And this is something that I've made up for you. It's an abbreviated table of contents of your textbook that basically outlines what the chapter is about. And your presentations are really going to be based upon this. So it doesn't have page numbers as the real table of contents, but it does have the overview. And I think you're going to find that very, very helpful when you leave it next to you when you're doing your observation. It will allow you to identify what you're observing, whether it's you're seeing counseling at work, you're seeing verbal exchanges, whether the practitioner is modeling, whether you are observing use of balancing talk, or whether you can analyze the kinds of interactions that are going on, etc. The next is 4, and that is extremely important because it's all of the presentation topics and your name next to the topic with a date. Okay? All you have to do is you have to look in your textbook or in your table of contents, and you will be able to identify what your assigned piece is. Now, there are many ways to do the presentation. We can talk more about it during one of our lectures, but I'm not specifying. You can do an audio, and video, you can do a PowerPoint. Students last semester used some very creative cartoon tools. I don't even want to give you the names right now, but there are many, many ways that you can do this. The most important thing is be creative and interpret the information. Do not read it, speak it as if you're talking to the class. So please don't read it from the textbook. Okay, and we'll be talking more about that. Excuse me. Now, the 5th document is the cover sheet. That has to be a cover sheet for every observation that you hand in. It must be attached to it. And it has all of the 5 questions on here. That must, the 4. Maybe I should write a 5th one. I keep saying 5. And all of the identifying information that must be filled out. The 6th is a rubric that I use to grade your observations. They have to be handed in time. Your written English, the fact of you listing and answering all questions. It cannot be a narrative. You must identify and answer each question in order. And then the last area is whether or not you've used the practitioner's path terminology and integrated it and highlighted it in your reports, which is one of the requirements. The next is a presentation rubric. And it's just the usual things, how it's organized. You're not going to have any problem with this because you're using information from your book. Your terminology is going to be appropriate, the delivery, and then the content. So, generally, there's this is aced. There's absolutely no question about this. Then you have, should you need it, should you be asked for this, you have a permission to observe for this semester. It's signed by me. It talks about the course, and you can print it out. Sometimes if you were doing face-to-face, they might ask for this, sometimes not. There's no contract. There are no phone calls that are made to set this up. There's no fingerprinting that's needed for the DOE, by the way, to do your observations. If that comes up, you'll let me know. We'll talk more about it. Okay, and then here's your HIPAA policy, a description about it. I believe it's still needed, even if things are done online. Here's the HIPAA form that you need to sign. I don't know that you need to send it to me right now. Just sign it and keep it. Here is your clinic manual to describe the Lehman College Clinic. Hopefully at some point you'll be back there doing observations. The next is a very, very important document. It's your observation record form, and this is the most important document for you to keep at the end of the semester. Scan it. This is proof that you've taken your clinical observation hours and you have your required 25 hours that's needed before you are admitted to a graduate program, or you will have to get those 25 hours before you're admitted. And then the last is your full table of contents that I like to give you, that is everything. It's quite long because I have quite an annotated table of contents in the book, but I've also included things from the chapters here. So you have contents if you ever want to look something up, if you want to check something out. It will take you to wherever you need to go, because after all, we are on the practitioner's path. Thank you.